Episode 9 of ReZero. I'll try to keep this short and be quick because I'm kind of busy in real life, but I still want to make videos, so it's kind of hard to balance both of them. I wish I was making money out of YouTube so I can just retire. Well, not retire, but you get my point. Anyways, back to ReZero. It was a great episode, episode 9. I really enjoy whenever the moment he goes inside the cave, everything plays out exactly the same as it did the first time around. It didn't really show it, but one funny detail is the fact that he picked the same path again. The case could be that the other path, or I believe it was the left side, it could have been closed off, but I just find it funny to think that maybe he picked the same path as he did the first time. He said always go right, which he did go right, and I like how everything played out the same. He was able to enter 3 walls, but once he reached the 4th one, he got stuck, and he did exactly the same thing he did last time, which was he started banging his head because he was... Well, the thing is, he doesn't know that it's miasma that's affecting him. But one strange thing that we do see right after is that he teleports back to the entrance. I found that moment very strange. This could be Subaru's power in a sense that we don't really know, but at the same time, I wonder why exactly he was able to teleport back to the entrance. Then moving on within this episode, we see that he tries to kill everybody, but once he reaches the top, he realizes that everybody's dead, so something must have happened. Well, he's confused because he doesn't really know the rules or what exactly happened. Once he went up, he saw a lot of people dead, and one thing that I found very strange was that Shala was dead. Who could have killed Shala? Not only just killed her, but they decapitated her, which was very strange because I thought she was one of the strongest characters we've seen so far. My theory is that Reed was able to come down the stairs. We did see that Anastasia try to run away up the stairs where Reed is at, but her corpse was cut in half. It could have been Reed that just cut her in half, but at the same time, I wonder if Reed was able to leave the room. Like, since the rules were broken, maybe he was able to leave the room, and we know that Reed is able to kill Shala. Shala is scared of him, so it could have been potentially him that killed everybody else. At the same time, it's kind of hard to believe because we didn't see any traces that Reed was able to leave the playground that he's inside. So I'm still very curious what happened in that loop. I was hoping to get more information, but Subaru didn't really do much during that moment. Within this episode, we also see the iconic LARPing, whatever it is. I don't really understand it, but a lot of people are calling him Daniel, which I think the reason why people are giving him, not specifically Daniel, but just giving him a new name is because we are obviously watching a new character. This isn't Subaru, so in a sense, it makes sense that we can give him a new name since he's trying to figure out who he actually is, but obviously it's a new character. I found it very interesting that, like I said, everybody was dead, but except for Patrice. I probably just mispronounced her name, but it was interesting the fact that she was still alive and she wasn't affected by miasma or anything. I did find it a bit heartbreaking, the fact that Subaru tried to kill her, but I really like that she didn't end up eating him or fighting back. She actually understood that something was wrong with Subaru, and she was willing to risk her life, and she did. She saved Subaru from the miasma, whatever it was. It seemed like the tower was self-destructing, but at the same time it was black smoke, which I think it's fair enough to say that it was actually the witch of it was Satella who caused all this chaos and the fact that the tower was collapsing. And finally, the most important moment was the fact that we never saw Rem, and in this moment we actually saw Rem, and she basically gave him a hint of who it was, which I found it very smart right here because obviously us as a watcher, we know that Rem couldn't have done this, so we know that it's an imposter. But even if she gave a hint to Subaru, well, the thing that is strange, she gave a hint to Subaru as if she knew that he has the possibility of returning back in time. I found it kind of strange because she gave him a hint, and if she's willing to give him a hint, that means that she knows that he can reset back and find the right person, or find the imposter that actually did this. At the same time, that might be the reason why Satella was out, because somebody found out that he has returned by death. It's very confusing. But I really like this moment in the story because Subaru himself, he doesn't know who exactly calls him a hero. So I was expecting him to, in the next loop, to ask everybody who calls him a hero or who sees him as a hero. But the funny thing is, nobody can answer that because nobody knows who Rem is either. So the fact that he forgot who Rem is, he can't really ask around of who Rem is because, like I said, everybody forgot who Rem is. So it's very confusing to explain, but it's very smart when it comes to the story. Well, it's very smart for the imposter to take over Rem because nobody knows who Rem is, so nobody will be suspicious of Rem. So I found that very smart. Try figure it out next time. She exactly says that, so she knows that he has the power to return by death. This just confused me a lot more, but that might be the reason why Satella was out, like I said. So maybe in this next loop, I doubt this imposter would know that he has the return by death, unless I'm assuming that they probably read Subaru's book. That's how they figured out that he has returned by death. It's also hard to say when exactly this imposter was able to switch bodies with Ram. But moving along within the episode, it was actually kind of interesting to see that Subaru actually gave Shala a hug. I mean, it's not strange. I was hoping he would at least praise her for what she did. Basically, she became a bodyguard for him just in case Julius tried something. But at this moment, I was a bit scared because I thought Shala would potentially kill him. There's still like a few rules that are a bit iffy that she didn't really explain, so I was a bit scared the fact that maybe this just broke a rule and Shala's gonna transform or kill Subaru in this moment because Subaru just decided to be friendly with her. Like I said, we don't really know the full set of the rules. It could be a rule within a rule, so I was a bit scared in this moment, but luckily it was just kind of like a nice wholesome moment between him and Shala. Then finally moving along within the final moments of the episode, we do see that Meili talks to Subaru, which I found a bit strange because I do believe this is Meili. I don't think this is an imposter. The main reason why is because she seems pretty normal. One thing that I found very interesting though is whenever she got into Subaru's ear and licked her lips, that's exactly what Elsa would do. It's a very iconic scary moment whenever it comes to ReZero and Elsa. So I found that very interesting, the fact that Meili took over this. I don't want to say she took over her personality, but she obviously was raised and hanged out with Elsa, so that's why she kind of did this little thing that she did where she licked her lips and then afterwards chaos happened. We don't know exactly what exactly happened here, but I do want to hint, once I'm done talking about this episode, I do want to hint my theory of what I believe is happening. Another thing about this moment, whenever Meili is talking to Subaru, she also says, did you remember, I remember everything that you said yesterday? Which I found that very strange because we've been following Subaru and we know that yesterday he wasn't even around. Yesterday he actually had to save Julius from the fight. Afterwards he went out in the balcony and talked, well actually I believe he was talking to Emilia and Bayako because Julius decided to fight alone, and then right afterwards he went outside with Anastasia and Julius came in, and that's whenever they had a dialogue, and then afterwards he decided to go up the library and that's where he passed out. So we've seen that Subaru didn't even have enough time to talk to Meili. So whoever was able to become Subaru as an imposter started talking to Meili, I guess in order to make conflict within one another inside the group, because Subaru never had time to talk to her yesterday. Somebody must have rage baited Meili into attacking Subaru because Subaru didn't have enough time to talk to her yesterday, even though she hinted that yesterday they had some dialogue. But like I said, this story is very smart. The fact that our main character Subaru lost his memories, he can't really picture that together because he forgot his memories, so he doesn't really know what Subaru must have said before. All he has right now, the information, is the fact that somebody told him that he did talk to her. So we will have to see how he's able to build this information together and try to figure out something. But anyways, that becomes the end of this episode, and my theory that I want to come back to and want to talk about happens all the way back whenever they fought this weird mob beast and then they were saved by Shala. We saw that Subaru was asleep within a dream, but within his dream we saw Regulus and Geese within his sort of like dream or within his body, and they were talking to each other, and whenever Subaru woke up he was confused by it, but he didn't really talk about it. And the reason why I bring that up is because in episode 8 we also see this moment happen again. Whenever he goes up to Reed, and then Reed, he basically messes with him and then he comes running down the stairs. In that moment we hear somebody laughing. It does seem like it was Subaru's voice who was laughing, but I strongly believe that it was Regulus. It kind of sounded like Regulus was laughing at him. To me, it seems like Geese and Regulus are observing Subaru, but they can't really do anything about it. And they were laughing at him, the fact that he lost his memories and that he's going through hell right now. It could have been just Subaru's mind that was laughing at himself, but at the same time, I strongly believe that it was Regulus who was laughing. I don't know if I'll be able to upload the previous sort of review that I had about Subaru within episode 8 because I'm busy right now and I don't know if I have time to edit that video. But one thing that I did say about that moment is that we see that Satella comes out and she was willing to kill him, but at that same moment Emilia comes up and saves him. So I found that very weird parallel that we don't really know if Satella is Emilia or what's going on. But moving along, the reason why I bring that up is whenever this episode comes out, episode 9, we know that Shala killed the earthworm because we saw the same power that she used. And the reason why I bring that up is that once Subaru goes down, we see this static image, and I tried pausing it and all we see is the rock monsters, and within those rock monsters they all die, but who else could have killed it? It couldn't have been Shala. And my theory is that it was actually Subaru, but the thing is Subaru doesn't know that he killed them. So that goes back to my theory that Regulus, or if not Geese, was able to take over Subaru's body. And I'm assuming it was probably Geese. Well, it's hard to say because both Geese and Regulus had strong powers, so if they were able to take over Subaru's body and then use the same abilities that they had before, I strongly do believe that they were able to take over Subaru's body. That's why we got static images, and that's when all the monsters that were nearby died. And the reason why I bring that up is because we also see this moment happen again towards the end of the episode. Whenever Meili is talking to Subaru, we see the static image again, and we see that somebody kills Meili, and he finds out that it was himself that killed Meili. But it seems like in this moment it was actually Geese that took over his body, because the hand mark that Meili had around her neck, it seems like it was from the Providence hand that killed Meili. But at the same time, it feels like Subaru's fighting himself. We can see that his nails were messed up because he himself wrote, is this Natsuki Subaru was here? I strongly believe that in this moment he's fighting a battle between himself, probably Regulus and Geese are trying to take over his body, but at the same time Subaru is still fighting to keep his own identity. So the last resort that he did was write Subaru Natsuki was here within his hand in order to give himself a hint, which I'm not sure why exactly he wrote that exactly, but I guess it's just a sense of self of who he is, that he should continue thinking of himself as Subaru Natsuki. The more that he loses himself and just basically the more that he loses himself, the more likely Geese and Regulus are able to take over his body. That's my theory, at least. It just kind of makes sense to me because we saw static images and we don't know exactly what happened in that moment. So my theory is that one of the two, Geese or Regulus, was able to take over Subaru's body, and that's what happened in this moment where Meili died. I believe it was the Providence hand that killed her. But I really hate that the episode ended right here, because what comes next? Will he try to cover it up, or will he kill himself and try to reset? Actually, within this loop, I actually thought that he would ask each individual character that he forgot his memories, and then he would try to play out the same route that he did the first time around. If he doesn't get killed, then that means that wasn't that person. But if he does get killed, then that's potentially gives him a hint of who was the person that killed him. That probably would have been the smartest thing that Subaru could have done in this moment. Just ask each individual character, I forgot my memories, but don't let the others know, and just play out the same things to see what happens. Eventually he would have to loop like 8 times. I'm not sure how many people are around. It's like 7 or 8 times he would have to loop around until he finds out who exactly killed him, which I think in this episode it was hinting that it was actually Meili that killed him, but it doesn't seem like it was Meili herself that killed him. It seems like somebody rage baited Meili into killing Subaru. Like I said, in this episode it confirms that there's also an imposter, so it's kind of hard to say if it was actually Meili or if it's the imposter that transformed into Meili, or if the imposter actually rage baited Meili into killing Subaru, because we also see that Meili talks about a conversation that we never saw and that could have never happened because Subaru was obviously busy day before, so it doesn't really align and make sense. So there's a lot of questions that come up in this episode, but I do like the direction this episode is taking, and I can't wait to see the next episode. Oh, my brain trembles. I understand it now. I want to go back to everybody's death. We know that Ram, Julius, and Meili, they most likely died by Shala because they had basically a donut, which they basically had the Rengoku Ace treatment, basically. Spoiler. And when it comes to Shala, who could have killed Shala? I was thinking that it was Reed at first, but now I strongly believe that it was this imposter Ram. We know that Ram is pretty brutal, and she, within her demonic powers, she can probably 1v1 most characters. And then when it comes to Anastasia, who killed Anastasia? I believe Anastasia went upstairs, tried to use Reed as protection, but instead Reed just cut her in half. I feel bad for Anastasia. Within this season, she's just been cut in half for some. And when it comes to Bayako and Emilia, obviously this Subaru doesn't know this, but whenever Bayako dies, she becomes a spirit. Like she just becomes mana, so she just disappears. That's why we didn't see her. And when it comes to Emilia, we know that whenever she dies, Puck comes out, but the fact that her contract broke, that's not the case anymore. So when Emilia dies, what happened instead is that she became Satella. I just pieced it together. I'm not saying that Emilia and Satella are the same person, but I strongly believe that Emilia has Satella inside of her, similar to how Subaru has Regulus and Geese inside of him. Pause. And the reason why I say that is because we obviously saw that Shadow started breaking the tower apart. So the only person that could have done that is Satella, and we didn't see Emilia around. So I strongly believe that it was actually Emilia who turned into Satella. That's why she wasn't around the area where Subaru was trying to look for every character to find out who survived. Now, I am kind of curious how Patrice survived. I guess in a sense it makes sense if it was the imposter, because she pushes him off the balcony, and then right after we see that Rem comes out and kills him. So it could have been the imposter that transformed into Patrice, but it doesn't really make sense why she took the knife to the chest and why she was willing to risk her life to save Subaru. I strongly believe that that was actual Patrice, that wasn't the imposter. But I mean, we really don't know. It doesn't really make sense how this imposter was able to find Subaru right after, but at the same time, she was Rem, so we know that Rem is pretty strong, and she pretty much has a strong sense of finding Subaru since he has the witch's miasma around him. That's my theory. And my other theory that I have about Reed, within the last episode, whenever I had time to think about it, I believe Reed can be defeated depending on the person's behavior or attitude or sort of mindset. We saw that whenever Subaru was losing himself, whenever he went up there, Reed instantly tried to kill him. He basically pushed him off. But whenever Emilia was able to win against him, she had a strong mindset. She was hopeful, and she knew that she would do everything she can to win, and she actually did win. So I strongly believe in the later episodes, whenever they try to figure out how to pass Reed's trial, they just have to have a good mindset or strongly believe that they can win, and they will win. He will let them win because they just have like a mindset that they do believe that they can do it. And I believe that's the answer of this trial. It's basically just having a good mindset. If you strongly believe that you can defeat him, you will defeat him. And that really makes sense to Julius. The reason why he can't defeat him is because Julius knows who this character is, and he knows that he doesn't have the power as a knight to defeat basically one of the biggest knights in the history of ReZero. So that probably makes sense why Julius can't defeat him, because he just doesn't have the mindset for it. But anyways, those are my theories about ReZero. This episode 9 just really made me think a lot.